I recently made a video on the basics of NotebookLM and some of its very basic features. In case you've not seen that, please check that out because in this video I'll take that further and I'll explore a few more cool features of NotebookLM. So let's get started. Now, one of the really cool things about NotebookLM is its ability to browse the internet and get you sources to kind of research and consolidate the information. But a really cool feature of NotebookLM is that you don't always have to find the sources yourself manually. So I'm just going to show you how to do that. So on the left hand side, you can see the sources panel, right? So let's say you click on the discover button. Now what you can do is you can ask NotebookLM to give you sources for whatever topic you are interested in. So for example, let's say I wanted to learn about the basics of AI. So I will say resources to learn the basics of AI. And let's say I click on submit. Now what's going to happen is that NotebookLM will do its research on the backend and try and consolidate a few different types of resources. So as you can see, there are a few websites, a few PDFs and a couple of YouTube videos as well. What I can do now is that I can import these resources in my NotebookLM. So it's pretty cool, right? So you don't have to manually go and search for these resources. They are ready-made available for you. Now, as you can see, NotebookLM was able to extract the information from all these sources and actually use all these sources in the sources panel here. Now, in case you were wondering that, hey, can I add some more resources? Of course you can. So you need to go to discover button and let's say you wanted NotebookLM to find some very specific videos. So for example, I'm saying something as basic as help me find YouTube videos on the basics of AI. So if I click submit, what NotebookLM does, it browses the internet again, but in this case it focuses its search on the YouTube videos on the basics of AI. And again, I clicked submit, so it's consolidated the information from all these sources in the sources panel here. If you want, you can also add different types of sources, for example PDFs. So let's say I said PDFs on the basics of AI. And once I click submit, again NotebookLM does its magic and tries and finds all these relevant PDFs on the basics of AI. Now it can take some time to import all these sources, but once it's done, you can start using them in your own way. Now here's the cool part. Once all these sources are imported, you can start to extract information from them in a number of different creative ways. So for example, I spoke about this in the previous video, but you can generate this podcast on the right hand side, right? So all you have to do is just click on the generate button. NotebookLM does is that it extracts the information from all these different sources, whether it's the YouTube videos, the PDFs, the websites, and it consolidates all of that information for you in the form of a podcast. Now let's hear a couple of minutes of how this podcast sounds. So I'm just going to play it and see how it sounds.
Yeah, it's kind of wild when you stop and think about it. Artificial intelligence, it's literally everywhere around you, even though you might not really be aware of it. Think about scrolling through social media or like asking your phone a question, or even just seeing those movie recommendations pop up. AI is the engine quietly making all that happen.
Absolutely. And that sort of invisible presence. Well, that's exactly what we're unpacking today. This deep dive is all about artificial intelligence, and we've gathered a really comprehensive set of sources to explore.
Yeah, quite the collection.
It is. We're talking everything from, academic stuff, from NRI Institute of Technology and eGaNCosh, practical insights from Great Learning and Simply Learn video transcripts, foundational knowledge from the book Artificial Intelligence, a big picture view from Wikipedia, some precise definitions from Wiley,
Okay.
fundamental concepts from the Journal of Mathematical Problems, its history from the Journal of Emerging Technologies, even a beginner's take from Reddit, plus intro material from Microsoft and Google AI Essential, and a timeline from Coursera. Ooh.
Okay, let's unpack this then.
So this podcast is extremely helpful because again, it's got the information from all your sources and it gives you a very brief, concise overview of the topic you're looking for. So whatever it is that you're interested in learning, you can get a very good head start by just using these features, and you don't have to spend hours and hours of time doing your own research and reading all the topics from the scratch. Another really cool thing of NotebookLM is some of these features that you see over here. So as you can see, there is this button called mind map. So I'm just going to click on this, and what it does is that it generates a mind map of the topic that I'm talking about. So in this case, if I click on this, a new window gets opened where NotebookLM has prepared this mind map which talks about all the different topics that are there in all these sources, right? So artificial intelligence gets broken down into goals, techniques, applications, ethics, so on and so forth. And for every specific topic, there are these subtopics. And in case I don't know where to start, I can always check out some of these topics and learn more about them one by one. So for example, if I were to talk about, let's say, artificial neural networks, let's say you were curious about learning more about this, all you have to do is just click on this and NotebookLM automatically takes the information from all the sources and tries to find as much information about this particular topic and gives you a very nice, brief and concise summary over here, which is so cool. I mean, think about it, right? Think about the applications that you are stuck at a particular thing. All you need to do is just click a button from the mind map and all the information that's relevant to you gets highlighted to you. And again, as in the previous video, in case you do want to know more about a particular topic, you can always go to the citation and actually see the information for yourself in terms of where it's coming from. You can also go back and read or see the original source in case you want to know something in more detail. So very, very cool feature. Another really cool feature is this study guide over here. So again, if I click on this, what NotebookLM does is that it prepares a new note which works as sort of a study guide. So once I click on this, what you can see is that it says that study guide exploring artificial intelligence concepts, and it's come up with this kind of, you know, basic quiz. And again, this quiz is based on all the information that was there in these sources, and there is a quiz answer key as well. There is some more essay format questions, there is some glossary where some of these terms are explained in more detail. So again, if you want a framework to learn something new, this is a very, very good way of doing that. Another really cool feature is this FAQ section. So if I generate an FAQ, what NotebookLM does is that it takes frequently asked questions and generates those questions, and also generates the answer to those questions based on the sources themselves. So again, a very quick basic overview in case you're wondering what some of these basic concepts are and you want some answers. So all your answers get answered over here. And like always, if you have some more questions, you can always ask NotebookLM in the chat. So let's say you have a query, you can always type that query in the chat and it's going to give you an explanation of what you're looking for. So really, really cool features, right? Now, here's the cool part. What I'm saying is that I'm saying based on all the resources, create a structured learning overview, including all the key topics that will help me learn the basics of AI. So what I'm saying is that, hey, it's too much information. The mind map is really cool, but I just want, like, you know, a very simple written description of what all topics should I focus on, and within all the topics, what are some subtopics or terms that I should know about. So you get this kind of information and this kind of an overview, and it's also giving you some you know, resources, some learning path, all of that, right? Now let's say you want to take your learning to the next level. What you could do is that you could also use Gemini with NotebookLM. Let me show you how. So what I've done is that I've copied all these topics, right? So all these topics, including the basics of AI, key techniques and concepts, all of that, and I'm going to paste this over here. Now what I'm doing is that I'm going to ask Gemini to create a simple quiz for me. In this case, I'm using Gemini and I'm saying that, hey, build a simple quiz that tests my knowledge in these topics. And I've written all these topics from where? from what NotebookLM had given me. So I've literally copy pasted the same topics, and I'm using the canvas feature because that's what Gemini uses to write code. So let's see what kind of a response do I get. Now, as you can see, Gemini used the information that I gave it and wrote all this code and has generated this kind of a basic quiz. How cool is that, right? So you don't even have to know coding to do this. You can get Gemini to write code for you and generate a very simple quiz based on the topics that you want to test yourself on. So once this entire quiz is ready, you can of course test your knowledge and put in your answers and then click on submit and get more information. How cool is that, right? So a quick recap, what we did was that we were interested in a particular topic. In this case, it was AI, and I got NotebookLM to generate all these sources for me from the Discover feature. Then I used those sources to generate a podcast. I asked a few questions, I developed a study guide, I developed a FAQ section, I got some basic topics, and from those topics I used Gemini to generate a simple quiz. And yeah, these features are so cool because any topic that you are interested in learning, you don't have to spend hours and hours of research of, hey, what are the sources that I should learn from, what are the books I should read. You could literally use NotebookLM to generate the sources, create a summary, generate a podcast, answer questions based on whatever doubts you have, all in the matter of minutes. And again, you could also integrate Gemini to create simple and interactive quizzes to test your knowledge. So learning has never been easier. So I hope you found this useful. I'll keep coming back with more AI tips and tricks, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.